Are you a beginner and want to learn how to do Facebook ads? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to do it. I'm Cam, I own a video production agency, and we also do marketing as well. And I'm going to tell you how to get lucrative Facebook ads. Meta had a giant update called Andromeda. And basically after that, the thing that does your targeting is your creative. So number one is you are going to have amazing creative. If you do not have amazing creative, if you just plop a ChatGPT like generated thing, you give a couple pictures of your food and hey, create me some text and it looks like this, that's not gonna get great impressions, at least not in my experience. So if you're already going to be taking dollars and giving it to Meta, then you have to make sure that your creative is tip top. This could be a mix of content, like you don't really have to hire a video agency. You could make content with your phone. There are so many examples of, if you go in the Meta ads library, you can literally see what other people are doing, and you can even see what your competitors are doing. Chances are, if they're on the Meta ads library, they have been running that ad for a while. It's a successful ad for them. Now, you could be seeing things that they are testing, but for the most part, the ads on there are ads that are proven and that they have been doing for a while. Otherwise, they would not keep that ad running. Like that would be a waste of money for them. So number one, creative. That's pretty much it. Honestly, at this point, Facebook ads are relatively simple. You want to keep things broad and you want your creative to do the targeting. If you are a dentist in a localized area that does dental work for children, you need to be stating that in your copy, in your video, in everything on that ad. Obviously, it can be really difficult for a business owner to keep up with the amount of content required to be thrown into the Meta algorithm properly. That's where a video agency would come in. But if you're trying to do the content yourself, it is very doable. Just know that most of the targeting takes place on the creative. That's pretty much it. Honestly, like I think I've been seeing a lot of Facebook threads where people are freaking out on there about targeting and a lot of things. You used to be able to pinpoint your exact client and you used to have a lot more control in the back end. Now, a lot of things are suggestions. And if you try to compress the Meta algorithm, if you try to take away Advantage Plus, your cost per lead is going to skyrocket. You don't even want to really compress the algorithm. You want to keep it on that Advantage Plus and use suggestions. The only thing I would compress, and that I personally compress on my video production ads, I do compress for location because it's not of interest to me when somebody's in a whole other state personally. And I think most businesses that operate on a localized level, they won't want to. If you're a dentist in Orlando, you're not going to want to service a client in Jacksonville. It just wouldn't make sense for you. Also, age ranges, that's a really important one because if you're advertising products for moms, you don't really want to target an 18-year-old because they're less likely to be a mom. So you want to try to constrict your ads in that way. But for the most part, right now, the ad does all the targeting. In fact, Alex Hormozi's latest strat is that he literally just takes like a blank canvas and then puts exactly what he's targeting. So he'll put something along the lines of business owners making $1 to $5 million, blah, 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 blah. And those have been pretty effective for him. So you are literally just telling the algorithm who to target with your creative. So that's number one. Now, in terms of actually creating a campaign, you have a couple different options in the Meta algorithm. You have awareness campaigns and different things, but unless you are a Coca-Cola where you have $1 bajillion to spend on having people repeatedly see Coke over and over and over, awareness campaigns and all those all those campaigns are basically useless. You want to focus on 3 campaigns in my experience: engagement, sales, and leads. Engagement can be good if you are a business that operates on volume and off of people messaging. Also, this will be the cheapest way that you can get leads. I run ads for some medical companies where for some reason people love to message. They love to just message and ask questions. And so that's the best ROI is on engagement other than leads and sales funnels, because with leads, it's people who are higher intent and they have to go fill out a form or book a call or do other actions, where there are some particular businesses where engagement can be good because they're like messaging and they love to just sit there and message. It's a ton of work for you to do messaging campaigns because now you're sitting there replying to a bunch of messages. And honestly, out of 10 messages you get, 5 of them will probably be pretty awful. Like they'll just be like unrelated to what you are offering at all. But this can be a lucrative method if you're just trying to get really cheap engagement essentially. And you do the way that I would say about engagement campaigns is that you do have to sift through a lot of trash, but if you do manage to sift through the trash, you will find some golden nuggets in there. So this would be a campaign. I might recommend this for a lot of businesses that maybe have smaller budgets, and especially if you use the suggestions, like let's say that you're a dentist, maybe you suggest parents, you can do some suggestions to try and push the algorithm in the right path. The different campaigns, and I'm going to go ahead and run through them. So awareness, that's the one I was saying, where basically that goes to whoever, wherever, and you don't really want to mess with this unless you have extremely large budget and you are like Coke or something, and you just have the ability to be everywhere, So this is basically useless for most small businesses or just anybody wanting to advertise and do their own. Next we have traffic. This is kind of the same thing. These will be extremely cheap clicks, and they will go to your landing page and etc. You can try it, but I find that if you are somebody trying to run your own ads, chances are that you don't have infinite budget. That leaves less room to play, honestly. If you have about $50 a day, which is what I recommend to start with, you don't want to bother necessarily with awareness or traffic. Then you have engagement. This is the one that I was saying that sometimes can be lucrative, but you kind of have to test it for your specific product, because I have found this campaign to be lucrative with things where people just want to book very quickly, like a service or maybe some sort of offer or something, and you will be flooded with people messaging you, and you will have to kind of sort through the noise. But this can be lucrative for some people. But engagement can indeed be pretty lucrative. So, and over here you see like all the different things. So Messenger, Instagram, video views, post engagement, etc. You also get a lot of followers out of this potentially, and obviously that can be good because you can build up your page if you have nothing and you just started your business and you're trying to start to build that authority, people talking to you, people liking your page, etc. So for most businesses, again, it really depends what you're trying to promote, but leads is probably the most like higher intent people. I have had decent luck sometimes using the instant forms, like the internal ones, but you have to ask the right questions. It all depends on your business and the thing that you are trying to market. So it's really difficult for me to just say like, oh, what's the best for what, because there's varying lucks depending on the business and what it is. That's why hiring a marketing agency is good, is because they've already had experience with a multitude of businesses, so they can just already have that knowledge for you. That otherwise you would have to test out all of these. In my opinion, if you were trying to do this yourself, you would have to test out all of these to essentially decide on one. Personally, app promotions, I've never really messed with this, and I've never had to promote an app, so I can't personally say how good that campaign does or doesn't do. But maybe if you have an app, it's worth trying that specific one. And then sales, this is good for e-commerce specifically, and this is the best converting for e-commerce. For most businesses that want to do ads is service-based, or where you're either engaging with a customer or they're filling out a form where you're trying to book them on a call and etc. In which case, I would go for leads. Okay, so here we are. We actually did manage to open up a campaign. So we're going to call this, so I'm going to do an example business. So let's say that I am a painter business. Okay. So this is for an engagement campaign. Which I think could work well for something like a painter, because you're going to be just getting a bunch of messages. Engagement, this is fine. Painter business, I would do ad set budget. Well, for a low budget that's like $50, I would do one campaign. And so we'd put that at like 50. And then you don't have a special ads campaign for a painter because you're not really doing loans or any of this stuff. So you would ignore that. And then you'd find the engagement ad. So you'd name your ad set. So let's say, I live in Orlando, so we would do Orlando painter test. something like that. So that would be your ad set. This is only for your own organization. Message destination. You're going to have to test this part because for some businesses, it may work well to have both Facebook and Instagram, but for some, Facebook will just be older people that will be a little confused. I personally, for the video business, doing Facebook and Instagram is not great. I would do one or the other, or you kind of have to play around with this, honestly, because it depends on your business and the thing you're advertising. Sometimes it's just better to get people to go on your website and get them to engage on the website than to have them do a funnel or to message you or whatever. So this is going to require a bit of testing. And I can't just say which one to do because it's going to require a bit of testing on your behalf. I don't like to play with ad set rules. Some people like to set budget restrictions and stuff. I think personally that constricts the algorithm unless you're working at bigger budgets. So we'd want to do Orlando, because that's where we are. And I would take off the reach people. This is a very important one that Meta tries to trick you into doing. Reach more people likely to respond. Let's say that you are a painter, which is what we're pretending to advertise right now. You don't want to reach more people because you're going to get somebody in Jacksonville who has had interest in Orlando, and you don't want that. That would not be a good lead for you. So I think that for most people, you want to click that off. Next, minimum age. If I was a painter business, I would not want anybody under 18 because they are very unlikely to be a business owner. So this would be not something I would personally want to do. And my suggestion would probably, I'd bump this up. I'd bump this up to like 30. I'd bump that up to like 30 because the today times, I mean, honestly, you might as well bump it up to 40 because homeowners are probably on the older side. And so this part here is only suggestions because we have the Advantage Plus on. You can turn Advantage Plus off, but then the problem with that is when you turn it off, it is going to make your leads cost more money. And I think that broad honestly works better because like I said at the beginning of the video, your creative will do the targeting. So broad is generally better. And we'll do the all genders. It doesn't matter. Anybody could be a homeownership. So here, I don't know. With the detailed targeting, sometimes it's good and other times it's not great. I think that your ad will do most of the targeting. But let's say you could put, do they have anything with homeowner? Homeowner. Sure, putting it together. Yeah, see, I just wouldn't do any of these. For this specific business, I would just focus on the creative. And obviously on whatever your landing page is, whether it's your website, your Instagram, that being very good. I don't know that I would do any of that. In terms of placements, this is also something you're gonna have to test because sometimes doing all placements is very lucrative and then other times, so sometimes doing all placements is lucrative. It really just depends on your business. And then sometimes you wanna just constrict it to Facebook and Instagram and that's it. And so even though Facebook ads right now are very simple for anybody to do, like honestly a monkey could set this up, it's the testing part. Like when you are hiring someone, they have tested all this stuff already and they have tested it with different brands. So they're gonna spend, like it's gonna spend, I believe unless you become super tapped into doing ads yourself, it will cost you less to just hire somebody that has that experience than to try to, because you're gonna, on all these tests that I'm saying, you're gonna burn money. Instead of you just burning your money, like you could just hire somebody that's like done this a lot. But again, it really just depends on the business and the location and everything. But so again, the placements, that's really just going to depend. But I do recommend attempting to potentially control this a little bit and not letting the algorithm run free. So that's pretty much it. And now we move on to the actual ad. So I'm just gonna, real quick. This is what ChatGPT came up with. So you know what, we'll just go with this because I think it's funny. So we're gonna go ahead and put ad one. Okay, so now we're gonna call it ad one. I recommend for the budget that we're talking about, 50 bucks a day, to do like 3 ads and then wait like 7 to 10 days. And if one of them is doing poorly, replace it with something else. And you want the 3 ads to be a variety. So one is a video, one is a graphic, maybe one is a carousel, or one is a UGC video, one is a professional video, one is a graphic. But you want them all to be different. Long gone are the days of having, if you have like a Canva image or something and you just change the text or switch the image or whatever, like you just tweak it a little bit, that will not perform well because the AI will detect that as the same image. So you don't want to do that. So ad one, and this is just for the sake of showing an example. We're going to do an image ad and we're going to do that perfect little ChatGPT image that totally proves my point on what ChatGPT comes up with. So next, then you want to do your primary text. This part I am okay with ChatGPT helping you with the copy, but you also don't want to make it sound too much like AI. But this part is very important because this is where you are telling the algorithm who to target. Okay, so let's go back to ChatGPT. Write me a primary headline and description for a painting business in Orlando that calls out my specific customer. Okay. This is all an example because this will vary highly per business and etc. But this is an example of Orlando homeowners. Is your paint faded or peeling and making your home look outdated? So you are calling out your specific, you are calling out the client that you basically want the most in your copy. That's very important. What is your business? Home painting services, interior and exterior, free estimates, call now. Okay. This is, again, quick. All this AI, whatever this stuff is, like, I just ignore that. I don't like the AI creatives at all. I don't like that either, the video generation. I think you should have control over your creative and not just give money to Meta. It's just not good. Obviously, this graphic is really bad. I'm showing just examples. I don't hate this section, honestly. I don't hate the little animations and stuff, and sometimes it can be good. So I would try this potentially, but if you don't want to, you don't. But if you don't want to do it, then you don't want to do it. But sometimes they're kind of fun, these little animations, and I don't feel like they necessarily hurt the ad. The AI stuff, like the image generation and the video generation, this is super just trash, in my opinion. This is something I've been testing. But if you are in a market that is dual language, so for example, most of Florida or California will be English and Spanish, automatically it kind of does a decent job of translating the ad, which I think is, it's honestly great. Like I'm still testing this feature, but this could be very good because previously I do work with a lot of multi-language businesses, and I've had to create 2 versions of the ad, and that's obviously very time consuming. So if this works properly, which it does seem to work kind of good, it's very, very good. I like that a lot. So that's pretty much it for the actual creative. There is one setting down here that you have to be careful with, which is, and now it's not showing up for some reason. For some reason, it's not showing up, but there will be, sometimes it'll have you use a bunch of creatives within your campaign, and I think you should turn that off. Do 1 creative per campaign and have control over it, because then when it does that thing where it just puts a bunch of creative in your ad set, then you don't know what is doing well, and it's kind of a mess. Okay, I recommend trying, even though the Meta is constantly trying to shove these like AI settings down your throat, I think you still need to maintain some control over your campaign. I think this AI little feature can be good. You set this up by, it's pretty easy to set this up, but it's just essentially like the AI will respond instantaneously to the person, and that'll be business dependent on you as to what they reply with, what the AI replies with. And then you obviously want to have your pixel set up, because it is very important that if anybody clicks on your website, you are getting that information, because you can retarget them later. So the placement is actually having issues with the audience network video. So if you're getting this error, like, you just go back to the placements and turn that setting off. And other than that, that's pretty much the basics, really. I mean, there's so much more to it, and there's all the different campaigns I talked about, all the different creative strategies, budgets, maybe doing like a messaging campaign alongside with a lead campaign, seeing which one does better, turning one off and then scaling. There's a lot to it, but this is basic. This is the basics, where if you just have zero budget and you're just a business owner and you want to try and run your own, this is kind of the basics of it. And then you click publish and you're rocking and rolling. That's pretty much the gist of it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that kind of basic Facebook beginner's guide. And if you realize that all of this is kind of overwhelming and a bunch of stuff, and I tried to be very transparent, because I want to just honestly, I want people to, I want to be a resource for people. And so if you realize hey, Cam, that was a ton of work, I don't want to do all that, well, then you can reach out to us at Conjured Films. It's also in the description, and we can try and help your business. And then you don't have to do any of this. And then we can try to brainstorm a strategy for you, and you don't have to try to figure this out by yourself. Because like I said, I think ultimately you'll spend more money trying to do it yourself than just getting help. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that video, and comment down below if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions or thoughts.